Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. There are some new things about me. As you might notice, I have braces for one, so if you hear me struggle to speak a little bit, just ignore it. Just let me live. I've had them for a few months now, and it's still interesting to have braces, that is for sure. I'm also a lot blonder than I think the last time you saw me, or maybe I was even a redhead the last time you saw me on this channel. So yeah, those are the two big giant elephants in the room. I am also sweating because I'm wearing a velvet bodysuit and jeans in the middle of August. And I can't put my AC on because it is too loud, can't open the door because it is too hot, so I have my fan going, and I hope that you can hear me over that as well. So today's video, I recently did in July a July book challenge. I was kind of horrible at it. I wasn't consistently keeping up with it. I would just do like chunks and I would upload like 10 at once. And I asked after it was over if you guys wanted to see me explain the choices that I did, and most of you said yes, so here's this video. I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible while still talking about my favorite books and the books that I picked and why I picked them. So the first day of the book challenge was the July to be read. July is already over and I still haven't started this book. Into the Valley by Ruth Galm. I came to this book because I actually got this from the internship I did at Redbook and Women's Day. They would just have piles of books everywhere and you could just take them. So a lot of my TBR pile is books from my internship still, plus books I've bought. So I have a lot of books that I plan on reading, and this is what I'm going to read next when I am done with the current books that I'm reading. So at the time I was reading The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, which was a book club book that we read, me and Ashley. If you don't know, Ashley is one of my friends from college, and she is this wonderful person who started the 12-year-old book club in November of last year and asked me to join. So every month we read a different book. So July's book was The Hating Game that Ashley actually picked out. I will leave her Instagram handle below. You should definitely follow her. She posts all these amazing vegan recipes. She does pen pals, and they're just amazing, and also book reviews as well. And it was actually her and her friend's idea to do this whole book challenge, which is why I did it. I borrowed that book from the library. It was an amazing book. I loved it. It was really hard for me to read, honestly, I think because due to a recent breakup that I had. It was kind of hard for me to read. It just made me really sad, but it also really made me laugh, and I loved it. And it was about book publishing, and if there's anything you know about me, it's know that I love a good book that is about books. The other current thing I'm still reading is Rilla of Ingleside. This is the last book of the Anne of Green Gables series. I am starting as an adult to reread the books that I started to read as a child, and I never finished the series. So I started the Anne of Green Gables series when I was younger, and I just dropped it. It is probably one of the more interesting books in the series. We see this is one of Anne's children growing up during World War II, and it's sad, and it's a coming-of-age tale, and it's really good. I cannot wait to finish this. This will definitely be a book post when I'm done with it. The other book I am currently reading is my beloved Wildflower by Drew Barrymore. This is an autobiography about her life and her experiences when she grew up. If you don't know, I love Drew Barrymore, and it's just been so interesting to read about her struggles and how she has blossomed into this entrepreneur and this just amazing woman, and didn't let her upbringing determine where she went in her life. So really excited. I'm actually really close to finishing this one. This will definitely probably be a blog post soon. Day 3 was reading outside, so I have a hair stuck in my mouth. Ew. Gross! July 4th was supposed to be Red, White, and Blue books. So the books that I picked were The Big Life by Ann Shoket. Ann Shoket was the editor-in-chief of 17 magazine. If you don't know who she is, I bawled when I found out she was leaving. This is ideal for high school graduates, college graduates. This is a really great pick-me-up. a go-getter, go chase your dreams kind of novel. This is How to Be Parisian Wherever You Are. Love, Style, and Bad Habits. This is a great coffee table book. It's filled with photographs and different tips of what to wear, but it's also super funny, and it's just like, it has that coffee table book feel, but not the size of it. My blue book is actually something I haven't read yet, but as you can see, it's about books. This is called Words in Deep Blue, and if you can see, it has a bunch of different books on the cover. I bought this because it is a book about books. Like, a bookshop book about books, give it to me. I'm interested. I want to read it. I love this book. Love this book. It's pretty much about going back to your past relationships and figuring out what went wrong. It's unlike anything I ever read, and I have still never read anything like this since I picked up this book probably 3-4 years ago, and it's one of my favorite books. But this is for my funny read. I've never laughed harder reading a book. After that, we have a road trip book. Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson. I love Morgan Matson. I don't think she gets enough recognition as she should. She, with me, is in the same caliber as Meg Cabot, Sarah Dessen, like all of like my favorite female authors who write about romance, except she puts a twist on her books because they're filled with playlists and lists. Here's a list in the books, and then they have playlists for every chapter, if you could see that. Of course, books and music, they should go hand in hand together, and she really does it, and she does it so seamlessly. I just loved it. I love this book. So day 7 was a summer drink with a favorite book. Iced coffee has been my drink this summer. I recently have converted. Not converted 100%. I still drink a cup of hot tea every morning, but I now have cravings for iced coffee, which is something I have never had before this summer. To pair with iced coffee, I did The Paris Wife. This book is so interesting. This is by Paula McClain. This is a great book to read, to learn about a literary figure in our culture from the point of view of a fictional woman. It's a really good read for people who are into literary authors and just, I guess, just like reading, I would say. This isn't something that like I would give to somebody who's like, oh, I never read. I wouldn't be like, oh, here, read this. Day 8 was favorite OTP, which means one true pairing. Immediately I thought of Trouble Is a Friend of Mine. I think the last book in the series actually came out recently. I read this book by Stephanie, and I wasn't like thinking anything of it. This is again another book I got for my internship, and I never went through a book so fast. Immediately went to the library and got the second one, and could not wait to read this. Definitely check this series out. Super funny, super interesting, quick paced, a good read. Day 9 was Yellow Books. So I have a few Yellow Books that I pulled from my archives here. I don't really have a lot of Yellow Books, I found out, but here are some of the ones that I do have. This one is called Finny. I've had this for many, many years. This was like the first adult novel that I read. Not adult as in like X-rated, just like an adult book, like a book that I read that was not YA and felt very serious, and it was actually written by a family friend's son, and I was actually at his book party in the city, and I felt so grown up, and it was still probably one of my favorite memories. I actually want to reread this now that I am not, I think I was like 14 when this book came out. I definitely want to reread this. This is kind of like a book that I have that I want to reread. Love and Miscommunication. This was such a good book. I really enjoyed this. This was about this woman who works at a law firm and how she's so attached to her phone that she kind of just it ends up getting her in trouble, how much she's on her phone and her email that's not work related, and she gets fired. It was a really good book. It's really current, I think, and it was a good read. It wasn't boring. It wasn't like too like, oh, millennials. The last yellow book that I have is Hope for the Flowers. This is just a really cute, almost like a kid's book. I got this when I graduated college. This was gifted to me by one of my aunts. It was just a really cute coming of age tale about how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. This is really cute to give to maybe anybody who is graduating college, high school, even kindergarten. This is a really cute book to have. Day 10 was Fluffy Reads. I have to go with A Night In with Audrey Hepburn. This is also a series book. This was a great book to read because the main character was really relatable. I felt like she sees Audrey Hepburn in her apartment and she's like, am I crazy? Why could I see you? And this apparition appears of her and nobody else could see her. Really interesting to see how our idols, whether they're alive or dead, how they really can have effect on how we choose to see the world and how we live our lives. Day 11 was Summer Romance. Whenever I think of summer romance, I think of Sarah Dessen. This is her book, What Happened to Goodbye. I have read almost all of her books. I think the only one I haven't read is her latest one, and that is on my TBR pile. They're all subtly interconnected, which is fascinating, and only a genius could pull that off. But they're not sequels. Like, they all don't connect where, like, you have to read this book before you read the next book, and so on and so forth. They're all separate stories, but, like, the towns are the same, or like, oh, that shop appears in this book, and this character appears as a sub-character in this book. 12 was my favorite bookstore. That definitely has to be, New Paltz. New Paltz has great bookstores. Fire Minds is the one with the 3 books for like $15 sales that they always have, which I probably frequented every weekend, and a lot of the books that I've bought have been from there. And then Bardner Books is the one with the spiral aisle that I absolutely love and like wanted to live in and sit there and read all day. Day 13 was talking about your local library. My local library is the Londonderry Public Library in my hometown. I love my library. I go to my library probably once every 2 weeks, maybe. And they have, I found out the other day that they have Texture, that app, kind of like Texture. It's an app that I use to read magazines. They have something similar like that for the library, except you don't have to pay for it. Day 14 was The Great Outdoors. It pretty much just had to be a book with the cover being a picture of nature. So I picked The Last Song by Nicholas Sparks. I am a sucker for a Nicholas Sparks novel. I've read a lot of his novels as well. Love Nicholas Sparks. Any of his books, again, not just The Last Song, any of his books, you cannot go wrong with any of them. They're all really fabulous. Day 15 was a book haul. I haven't bought a book in probably has to be like 8 months, which is a really long time for me. So I haven't read any of these yet. They're on the tail end of my TBR list, unfortunately. We have 99 Days. This novel, I don't even remember what it's about. It says on the back, Day 1, Julia Donnelly eggs my house my first night back in Star Lake, and that's how I know everyone still remembers everything. She has every right to hate me, of course. I broke Patrick Donnelly's heart the night everything happened with his brother, Gabe. Now I'm serving out my summer like a jail sentence. Just 99 days till I could leave for college and be done. So that sounds like a really freaking good book. Also sounds like a really great summer read. I'm excited, but I probably won't get to this book for a long time. The next book that I got was Killing Monica. I have never seen Sex and the City. Like, I've never, like, sat down and, like, seen the series. But it's also a book series. And this is, like, not part of the book series. It's the book that comes after the series. This book is called The Beginning of Everything. This says, this is about Ezra Faulkner was supposed to be homecoming king, but that was before. Before his girlfriend cheated on him, before a car accident shattered his leg, and before he fell in love with new girl Cassidy Thorne. Day 16 was about an author I want to meet, Meg Cabot, The Princess Diaries, hands down. This series is actually going to be the next series I read after I finish Rilla of Ingleside. I read all the way, I think, up to maybe book 5 of this. This is very different from the movie, but I think you can appreciate the book and movie separately. It's not one of those things where reading the book and then watching the movie makes you angry. Day 17 was supposed to be a fairy tale retelling. I don't have any books that are like that at all. I do have Grimm's fairy tales. This is also on my TBR. I picked this up because I feel like it's such a good book to have on hand for like to have. It's one of those like classics that you need to own. Day 18 was supposed to be a book that represents culture. The Hate You Give, which is a book we read for our book club, is a great book to read. I borrowed that from the library, so I don't physically have that book. Another great book is Odd Girl Out. It's about aggression in females and pretty much teenage girls, and how we're not supposed to be angry. Like, girls aren't allowed to be angry. They have to deal with their anger and their feelings in a different way than boys do. Day 19 was a play. I don't own any plays. Just threw in a book that I really enjoyed, and this is Don't Worry, It Gets Worse. This is by, she's the author of the Frenemy blog. I don't know if you know who she is. This book is another one of those books that I read when I was super young and in high school, and I want to reread this. I also have her newer book, which is also on my TBR pile, that I got for Christmas like 2 years ago, and I haven't made it around to yet. Day 20 was about resolutions. It was about supposed to be about a book that makes you want to try new things. So for that, I picked my 2 favorite things: the Little Paris Bookshop. A bookshop in Paris, like, that's all I want to do with my life. This was a really great book for me, and I guess, like, I relate to this book so much because the way I feel about reading and about books in general is that you read what you need to read. You read for your soul, or I feel like that's how you should read. You should read for something that you need. So if you need love in your life, you read romance, and, you know, if you want to improve something, you read self-help. And it's not just like, I feel like you attract what you need in your life. You're attracted to books where you're like, I want that, like, I want this in my life, and you're gonna read about it, and you're gonna, like, kind of almost wish it to existence. And this book, the character who owns a bookshop kind of recommends books the same way. He asks his customers, like, oh, well, like, tell me about you and your life, and they'll talk to him about it, and they're like, alright, like, here are the stacks of books that you need to read. Day 21 was about a character you hate. I don't like to hate books. I've definitely read books I don't like. This was one of them. I don't hate this book. It's just wasn't something that is for me. This is called The Sweet Spot. The female character could have used a lot of work and instead chose a boy over her career and profession, and that's just like something I can't and don't want to relate to. Day 22 was characters you relate to, and again, Morgan Matson makes an appearance in Since You've Been Gone. And this book, like, just let me feel those emotions, and like, let me know that things were gonna be okay in the end. And this is one of my favorite books ever. And again, this book has playlists in it. Day 23 was a book that I couldn't put down, and that was Love and Other Unknown Variables. I actually finished this book when I was on a camping trip upstate. I had to bring this with me, and because I couldn't put it down. It was just, I didn't think I would like this book because I don't like math, and it talks about different math theories. 24 was my recent favorite book. Surviving Ice was really good. I didn't realize it until after I'd even finished it, that it's a series book. This is a book in a series, and I didn't even know. I definitely think you could read this book by itself. I don't think you need to read the other books. It's darker, but it still has that romance twist to it that I like. It's just edgy. It's an edgy book. That's a really good word for it, edgy. Day 25 was a book published by a female author. This is Good and Bad by Jennifer Weiner. I've read a bunch of her books. I really do enjoy them. She has written In Her Shoes. That's that movie with Cameron Diaz, if you've seen that. That's just so funny. The character is just a normal person. I feel like she's such a normal, like, I could be friends with her off the street person. She's not super skinny or super fashionable or anything like that. She just seems like a everyday person, and I really enjoy that her characters are like that. I just think it's such a different change of pace, which is crazy from like the usual books that we read about. A book published by a male author has to be More Chill by one of my favorite authors, Ned Vincini. Vincini. I think I said that right or wrong. I probably said it wrong. This book is really good. This is probably one of my favorite books of his because it's not what it seems. Definitely check this out. If you read It's Kind of a Funny Story, it's very different from that, but it's still really good. If you didn't like It's Kind of a Funny Story, still pick this out because it's not like that. A self-growth book is Things No One Will Tell Fat Girls. It is by Jess Baker. She is a blogger as well. It's inspiring. It makes you love yourself. So go body positivity. I'm all about that. Next one was a classic. Jane Eyre is probably one of my favorite classic books. This movie was really good too. I would say it's stuffy, but it's not as stuffy as some of the other classics that are super popular, so I really enjoyed this. As you can see, things are a little different. That's because it is actually the next day from when I started filming yesterday. As what always happens, something always happens whenever I film. So I ran out of storage, so I emptied the storage from my memory card, and then of course when I went back to go film again, my camera died. The next challenge was a New York Times best-selling book. Obviously I had to pick Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I feel like more lately than ever there's been a lot of controversy about J.K. Rowling and the Harry Potter franchise. I debated whether featuring this book in my challenge because of all the controversy, but it's such a good story and it was so important to me in my upbringing and in like reading wise that I felt like I had to include it, and to not include it would be kind of a injustice to my childhood in a way. The next challenge was a book that was turned into a movie, and I was going to originally do The Princess Diaries for this slot, but I love Meg Cabot so much that I would love to meet her. And another one of my favorite books is Silver Linings Playbook by Matthew Quick. He just recently came out with another book that I want to pick up and read. This is one of those books and the movies like Princess Diaries where the book and the movie are really different, but I really appreciated and enjoyed both of them. The last day, the 31st of July, was supposed to be the best and worst reads of July. Neither of the books that I picked are from books that I've read in July. They're just books that I really enjoyed and really did not enjoy. So for the best book, I did do Anne of Green Gables because I am in the middle of reading the series and I did really enjoy the series. I have put individual reviews up for every book in the series that I've read so far. I don't think it's a children's book though, because it is so hard and the vocabulary is so intense in this book. There are still words in it that I'm like, what the frig does this mean? Through and through, it is a really great read. I would definitely recommend it for adults now. I don't think you have to be a child to read this. I don't even think children really can read this by themselves. And then my worst book was actually Lean In for Graduates. I got this when I graduated college and as a gift, and I really wanted to like it because people loved the whole Lean In book, and I felt like it was more discouraging than inspiring. So guys, thank you so much for joining me on this really weird ride of me explaining my July book challenge picks. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am hoping I'm going to try to film more. So hopefully I will see you soon. I do want to do more beauty videos. I would love to do more book talks. So if you do have any Halloween suggestions of things you want to see or things you want to be for Halloween, leave them down in the comments below. I already have some ideas of what I want to do. I've been collecting ideas since like the beginning of the summer. If there's anything that you want to see, please let me know. So if you can, please like, comment, Subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and on my blog. All the links are in the description box below. And I will see you next time, guys. Stay golden.